All right. Copy in here. Little tweet out. Tweet, 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 tweet. He ain't done that in a while. All right. Give me a second, everybody. All right, messages. Paste and send. Okay, let's go through the propers. Yo, 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 what is good, everybody? It is your boy Lincoln Clay coming at you live from Wakanda. This is live from Wakanda, the Gaming Weekend Reviews. This is show number 2. You know what to do. Hit the like button, hit the bell icon. The rest will take care of itself. If you are a new subscriber to the channel, welcome aboard. And as I was saying, this is my Sunday morning podcast, live from Wakanda, where I talk about everything that happened during the week, and I give my opinions on what happened with it, and then you, the viewers, feel free to chime in on the subjects as we talk about them. And so, this show, Mr. Powell, you are first. And so, this show was intended just to be, for me to fill this time slot while Mr. You said Mr. Pump, and that made me. I was about to say Mr. Sick, but I can't address him as Mr. Sick. So, yeah, I was. This show was intended. I intended to do this show Sunday mornings until Mr. Sick Humor returns, which he did return this morning. I don't know if he's going to be consistently on Sunday mornings with the PlayStation Plus podcast. Jemiah Dixon, what is up? So what I will do is I will play it by ear every Sunday morning. I think Live from Wakanda was well received, so I'm going to continue on with this podcast, and I'm going to continue to do it Sundays. So I think the way it's going to work is Sick usually, he usually starts to send out the PlayStation Plus podcast links to us, usually at about 8:30 Sunday mornings. So when I wake up, if I see the link from Sick, then I know he's going to go live, and then I'll do the live from Wakanda after his podcast. But if I don't see a link from him by the time I wake up, then I'm still going to look to do the podcast around 10ish, give or take. So everything worked out. Was welcome back, Sick. It was good to have him back. I know I missed a big chunk of his podcast, so I'll have to go back and listen to the parts that I missed, but it's good to have him back. And at the same time, it feels pretty good to be able to do a podcast on Sunday too. And as I said, I talk about everything that happened during the week, and I can get right to the nuts and bolts of everything that went on and give my opinion on it, and then move on to the next subject versus talking about something for an hour when I could have only spent 15 minutes talking about it. So I really like that format much, much better. And so I sent out the link. I sent out a link to Craig Harris. Hopefully he'll be joining us soon. So until then, I'll go ahead and get started. And boy, oh boy, was there a lot that happened this week. There was, again, just like last week, there's no way I could have remembered all of it. So I had to take notes as I went. So I went and downloaded the journal app on my phone again, and just started taking notes as the week went on. So let me backtrack on the calendar. And what do we got here? Shoot, I can't believe it. I didn't bring out the calendar app. What the hell's wrong with me? Clock, calculator. So today's Okay. All right. So last week was Area Drake. What is up? And thanks for the retweet. I appreciate that. I saw that on Twitter. So last week was January 6th. So let's backtrack to that. So actually, I started January 8th because I don't think there was any news since I did the podcast last Sunday. Naturally, there wasn't any news that Sunday. It didn't appear to be any news on Monday. So I started taking notes for this week on Tuesday, January 8th. And so the first bit of news that happened was PS4 selling 91.6 million and Spider-Man sells 9 million. So that's pretty cut and dry. My biggest thing that I have to say about that, Ice Queen Gaming, how are you? My biggest thing to say about, the PS4 selling 91.6 million is that I'm actually a little bit disappointed because I thought they would be sitting on 92, maybe 93 million by now, which is very well possible that as of this podcast, it's very well possible that they could be sitting on 92 million. So let me take a quick second to go to VG charts. And I know we definitely don't want to cut anything in the stone that we get from VG charts, but I do like to use them as a general reference in terms of weekly and monthly sales. And so, wow, the week of December 15th, 2018, holy shit, the Nintendo Switch in North America alone sold 435,963 units. Holy shit. And then in Europe, they sold 410,000. So it's more, we'll just say close to 411,000. They sold 282,000 in Japan. And globally, they sold 1,348,851. Holy shit. Now, actually, I have the week of December 15th, I have a number that actually catches me off guard. Jemiah Dixon, you said they will reach 100 million before E3, then announce it during the Xbox conference. They probably would do something like that because Sony has done that a couple of times last year where people was getting hyped about shit like people was getting hyped about Sea of Thieves and all that kind of shit. And then Sony dropped a bomb on them. And Mirrors, what is up? Sony dropped a bomb on them and gave them a date for God of War. And then everybody got hyped about God of War. So yeah, Sony pulled some shit on them. And then I think when they got hyped for State of Decay, I think Sony dropped another bomb on them and gave them a date for Detroit Become Human. So yeah, Sony do fuck with them a little bit. See, but we can't exactly prove that Sony fucking with them, even though I think they fucking with them. But we know when Microsoft is trying to fuck with Sony because they do everything except the word Sony coming out of their mouth, But Microsoft make it so obvious, In fact, Sony does come out of their mouth because they always, talk about their user engagements and all that kind of shit. You said you think Sony will announce another release date during the Super Bowl? Yeah. The question is, what game will it be? Will we get an announcement? Will we get a date for Ghost of Tsushima? Will we get a date for Death Stranding? Because I think Sony's going to close the generation with The Last of Us 2, because I think that's going to be the game that's going to bridge the gap between the two generations. I think that's going to be the game that's going to close out the PS4 generation and start up the PS5 generation, being that it's been talked about a lot that they might even hold The Last of Us back to, start the generation, which I don't think that would be wise because they would lose out on a lot of sales if they hold the Last of Us back and only put it on the PS5. But we know they won't do that with 90 million PlayStations out there and they only put it on the PS5. That would be suicide for that game. So I think if you sell it on the PS4 and then, pretty much stress to everybody that, they would get enhancements if they bought it for the PS5, I think that would be a can't miss. So let me go back and look. Let me go back and talk about these numbers real quick. And so surprisingly, the week of December 15th in North America, the PS4 sold 263,892 units. So I'm just going to call it 264 and round it off to the nearest 100,000 or to the nearest thousand. And the PS4 sold 264,000 units the week of December 15, 2018. And the Xbox One sold 352,605 units. They sold almost 100,000 units more than the PS4. That is shocking because I can count on one hand how many times I've saw that the Xbox One beat the PS4 in any region. So that is shocking. I think this is only the second or the third time that I've seen this. I think the only other time that I might have seen this was the week that the Xbox One X came out. But still, they still got the shit beat out of them globally. Over in Europe, the PS4 sold 329,000 units, whereas the Xbox sold 86,000 units. So, the PS4 damn near quadrupled them in Europe. And then, oh my God, the Japan numbers, 81,000. We'll round it off to 82,000 in Japan and 1,026 units for the Xbox One. And then globally, the PlayStation 4, I'm going to round it off to 790,000 units globally. And the Xbox sold 487,000 globally. So the Xbox is still getting his ass kicked in all these other regions, but here in North America, I am surprised. Not only am I surprised that they beat the PlayStation that week, I'm also surprised by the number that they've sold. So I can close that because I got goddamn Coors Light advertisements popping up. Okay, so let me see, what did I miss? As far as comments goes. Yeah. What's up, Blue? He said all the usual suspects is here. We got to stop meeting like this. And the mirrors, he said, usually the PS4 sales drops in the month of December. It did last year, too. They were bragging about the PS4 losing after they placed second, lower than the Switch. Yeah, I remember. What was it? I think it was one time last year when one NPD where the Xbox did have a better NPD than the PlayStation. But the Switch still won the overall. But the Xbox was celebrating because they beat Sony. They didn't win it, but they were still celebrating as if they did win it because they beat Sony for that 1 month. And not just like, I was like, my God, y'all dudes like do a backflip over the tiniest shit. And I was like, but it's going to be a short-lived victory because things going to be back to normal the next NPD reveal. So again, I'm a little bit surprised that, Sony isn't sitting on 92 million. But based on those numbers that I gave you, with them, Aaron Fatberg was throwing a party about it. Simone, what is up? What's going on, brother? Or better word is friend. How you doing, friend? So anyway, where I was going with that is based on those numbers that I gave you, even with the PS4 having a slow week, they still sold 263,000 units in North America. So with those kind of numbers, they're averaging about 1 million a month. And so even at this stage of the generation, so with that being said, they needed another 400,000 to crack 92 million. So I would not be surprised I wouldn't be surprised if, as of the moment of this podcast, I wouldn't be surprised if Sony cracked the 92 million mark. They're probably not going to say anything about it because after they just announced, Mac, what is up? After they just announced that 91.6, Sony doesn't strike me as the type of person that's going to come back and say, oh, we just cracked 92 million. I don't think Sony's going to say anything again, probably until they hit 95 million, which I think that very well could happen by summertime. You know, that is if Sony has any more sales. So there's no question that Sony's going to hit 100 million this year. And I think when Sony hits the 100 million mark, that could play into when they could release the PS5. I think the closer that we get to 100 million, the more Sony's probably going to start giving us more information about the PS5. You said the Wii was the last console to sell over 100 million. It's a given that the PS4 is going to crack 100 million, and it's going to happen this year. My big question is when is it going to happen? I think that if Sony does one more sale and put the PS4 on sale one more time for $200, you know, with another bundle, I think they could crack 100 million by fall. I mean, just this past holiday alone, they did 5.3 million. That's huge, you know, for a month stretch, you know, you know, I think, you know, from Black Friday or Thanksgiving, to me, the holidays means Thanksgiving all the way to the end of the year. So you're talking about, you know, Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Christmas.
There's too many cars.
So 5.3 million in a little over a month is huge. And so with that being said, if they do another sale, excuse me, if they do another sale, there's no doubt in my mind, I think they can hit 100 million by summer, maybe even fall. But because they sold 5.3 million units, maybe now some of you will understand why I think that the PS5 could possibly launch in November of 2019. Because if they launch it, does Sony have Resident Evil 2 marketing? I have no idea. I mean, it was advertised, you know, it was shown on the Sony stage at E3. So that, you know, that automatically led me to believe that they had the marketing rights to it. The upcoming Kingdom Hearts bundle is going to get them closer, definitely, because I think with this Kingdom, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought at E3 when they showed the Kingdom Hearts 3 at E3 they also mentioned that it was going to be a Kingdom Hearts bundle that included Kingdom Hearts, you know, 1 and 2 along with 3. So I mean, we saw Kingdom Hearts 3 first on the Xbox stage. So when they showed it on the PlayStation stage, I'm like, you know, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know why they're showing it, but okay. But then when they revealed that, you know, Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 is supposed to come with it, then I'm like, okay, they just one-upped Microsoft on that one. So people are going to be more motivated to buy Kingdom Hearts over on the PlayStation. You know, I'm not too familiar with how popular Kingdom Hearts 3 is. It doesn't look like a game that I'm terribly interested in. I mean, but the part, you know, the Pirates of the Caribbean part, boy, that part of the game looked amazing, you know. So I don't know. 1 second, people. Okay, people, I'm back. Sorry about that. I had to blow the old schnozola. So the thing with this Kingdom Hearts 3 package, yeah, I agree with you guys. I think that could be huge. I think that could be the bundle that's going to tip them over 100 million. And that's what I was going to say. Now do you understand why? Because of the 5.3 million that the PS4 did over the holidays. Whether Sony is going to launch the PS5 in November of 2019, I don't know, but I think it makes more sense if they want this console to get off the ground, you know, with, you know, if they want to hit the ground running, because it's been demonstrated in the past. I've said this before, the PS4 launched in November. We'll start with the PS3. The PS3 launched in November of 2006. The PS4 launched in November of 2013. The PS4 Pro launched in November of 2016. And so do you see the common denominator there? And that is the month of November. With that being said, November 2019 makes total sense to me. November of 2019 makes the most sense because right around Thanksgiving time, if you release the console, like maybe a week or two before Thanksgiving, naturally people like me are going to buy it first. And then we're going to be the people who display the console for everybody else for that next wave of buyers. When that, people are going to see us with the console, whether somebody personally comes over to my place or whether someone sees a stream, what have you, we are going to be the ones that's going to be advertising this console for Sony because we're going to be the first wave of buyers. And then the next wave of buyers, in my opinion, would probably come on Black Friday if they have consoles to keep up with demand for the holidays. And then your next wave of buyers would be Christmas. And then I've said this before, and I don't know if people thought it might have sounded crazy or not, but I think after the Christmas buyers, your last wave of buyers that's going to have money on them are your people who's going to be getting their tax returns back. That's going to be, so you're going to have 4 possible waves of buyers. Uncompetitive, what's up? You're gonna have me buying it first. You could have a possible wave of buyers on Black Friday, even though the console won't be on sale. People still like to spend money on Black Friday anyway. So there's a second wave of buyers. You have the Christmas buyers. That's your third wave right there. And then your tax returns people who get tax returns. That's 4 waves of buyers, over maybe a 3-month span. So if they have the units to keep up with demand, the PS5 can get off to a phenomenal start if they launch it in November 2019. That makes total sense to me. If you launch this console in March of 2020, that everybody's thinking, in my opinion, okay, you're going to get the first wave of buyers, which is me. What happens after that? The sales are going to trickle after that. You're not going to have a big wave of buyers again, in my opinion, until maybe you put together a bundle for the console or until the next Black Friday comes around. And I've said this before, Christmas is the one time that people have money, but they don't spend it on themselves. Christmas is the one time a year where I may not be interested, I'll use a woman, for instance. A woman may not be interested in buying a PS5, but she will buy her boyfriend one for Christmas. And then you got me. So November 2019 makes total sense. In my opinion, I think there's only 2 ways Sony does not launch this console in 2019. Actually, 3. One possibility is they want to finish bleeding out the PS4 and get as many of those sold before they move on to the PS5. There was a rumor a while back earlier, last year, that Sony kind of wanted to hit the 100 million mark before they moved on to the PS5. It's definitely going to happen before they definitely going to crack 100 million before November of 2019. Why do you think Destiny was only ever shown at the Sony stage? I know that they had the marketing rights to it. Not only did they have the marketing rights to it, when the game first launched, I believe it was 4K 60. It was going to be 4K 60 on both consoles, but I think the HDR was only active on the PlayStation. I don't think it was active on the Xbox at first. So that might have been a marketing move by Sony, Emiris. but I think I do remember something about that, and I think the Xbox were complaining that Sony put some shit in the game that that only their version of it had HDR, supported HDR in the beginning. So wow, 24 minutes into this into this podcast, and I'm still on the first subject. So I'll get ready to wrap that subject up pretty soon. And Spider-Man doing 9 million. I had heard, I think a couple of days after it was revealed that they sold 9 million. A couple of days after that, I think it was revealed that they had broke the 10 million mark of units sold for the Spider-Man game. So that is phenomenal. And the big reason why I wanted to include that is so I can give the big fat finger and the big fat fuck you to Microsoft and EA, because those were two entities who were trying to destroy single player games to push their own multiplayer narrative. Sick Humor, what is up? Once again, bro, it was good to see you back this morning. And whenever you come on, man, we'll see you when we see you. I'm always looking forward to it, so I figured out how I'm going to do this thing. When I wake up in the morning, if I see that link from you, then I'll join your podcast, and then I'll do live from Wakanda at the conclusion of your podcast. So I think that works out for everybody. I like the way this live from Wakanda is working out, because when I collect news throughout the week, it gives me a lot to talk about. When I finally do this podcast. But as I was saying, I want to give a big fat fuck you to Microsoft and EA. I could include Amy Hennig in that big fat fuck you, because after EA fired her, she let EA brainwash her from her passion. She started saying that maybe single player games are dying and people watch it on YouTube. Whoop de whoop. So what if they're watching it on YouTube? That doesn't mean that it's dying. The sales of Spider-Man is proof of that. The game sold 10 million copies, but shit, 20 million people probably watched the game on YouTube because they didn't want to buy it. But 10 million is still phenomenal. With that being said, and with Sony saying they're doubling down on single player games, is not going anywhere soon. So shout out to Sony for continuing to support single player games, because if they didn't do it, single player games would be on life support right now, because just how many single player games are out there right now, besides shit like Assassin's Creed? How many single player games are out there? So EA is about to drop a banger, given EA's reputation. First of all, I'm not really, Anthem doesn't look like anything that I'm interested in, because if I felt that way about Anthem, I would have bought Destiny. But it's one of those games where when it comes out, I'll rent it, I'll give it a shot. If I end up liking it, then I'll buy it, even though I do not like EA. It's hard to say that I won't buy their shit, because because I bought Battlefield 4, bought Battlefield Hardline, bought Battlefield 1, bought Battlefield 5. I definitely like the Battlefield franchise. So, but I'll have to play the wait and see with Anthem, because it's not a case of whether I think it's going to be garbage or not. It's just something that I'll have to try to see if I'm going to like it. Uh-oh, look at this. What is he talking about? Just a minute, folks. What is he talking about? One Stop for Gamers got a 3.5-minute video saying that he's going back to Xbox. It's over for Sony. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out and see what he's smoking. The way he was banging on Microsoft head on his last one, what happened over these last couple of weeks that made him change his mind like that? So he got to be, there's got to be some kind of a joke, but I'll check it out. So let's move on to the next subject, because I definitely got a lot of subjects to cover. So Next subject is the Blizzard founder leaves Blizzard for good. And there's not really much to say about that because, I mean, the writing's on the wall. Everybody's trying to jump ship, from Activision. A lot of shit has happened with Activision. And I mean, that just further supports my theory that, with stocks plummeting the way they are, the rats are jumping off of the sinking ship. And I mean, they're doing it, and it seems like they're doing it in droves. And there's not people at the bottom of the totem pole that's doing this shit. There's people that's at the top that's doing it, and they taking these $1 million bonuses with them as they getting out of there. So, but I think that that's another sign of some of the things that I've talked about for 2019. And shout out this Spartan guy because he came into one of my streams and was like, "Yo, Lincoln, you was right again." When it was revealed that Bungie was leaving Activision, which that's the next subject right there. But yeah, with the stocks plummeting and people getting off of the ship, I mean, what's I don't know. I just don't think it's not a good look for Activision right now. It's probably a best way to put it. So that was a cut and dry subject. It's just another episode, for Activision. Keep your eyes on them because I don't know. Shit might get worse before it gets better. We'll see. But it doesn't hurt my feeling one bit. So the big subject that I wanted to talk about, that's the next subject, is that Bungie is leaving Activision and they are taking Destiny with them. So I'll start with the situation in itself. And I think that's where Spartan got where he said that I was right, where he came in and said, yo, Lincoln, you were right. I've talked about this before, that I know that I felt that Bungie probably regretted fucking with Activision, because a lot of this shit that was happening with all these with the throttling, with the microtransactions, with them making the grind worse. When people were complaining about the payouts for some of the achievements, and they gave you more for your achievements, but they also made the grind longer. So they was just pulling bullshit after bullshit after bullshit. Baltimore's what is up. And myself, I believed that. I said, this is not Bungie. I said, this is all Activision pulling these strings. Because the fact of the matter is, in 2018, Activision, before Bethesda came along, for the majority of 2018, Activision was the worst, but they was not getting the criticism they deserved because they were staying quiet about it. Everybody was still on EA head for the shit that they was doing. I think for the start of 2018, EA was still taking heat from the Star Wars Battlefront 2 shit. And then when summer hits of 2018, and then they revealed Battlefield 5, and this started off all that controversy and shit like that. And people was, jumping on their heads about putting a woman on the front line with a bionic arm and shit. All the while, Activision is trying their best to bleed the fuck out of us, putting in microtransactions at every turn, but they wasn't getting the criticism they deserve because all the attention was on EA. So they flew under the radar with their bullshit. But I said sooner or later, because, here's the thing about, in my opinion, American corporate greed. American greed, for that matter. Motherfuckers just don't know when to stop. This shit don't stop until the house is completely burned down, until there's nothing but ashes left. That's when the greed stops. That's how American greed works. Once they go down that greedy path, they don't stop until there's nothing left. And when there's nothing but ashes and everything burnt down, that corporate motherfucker, that corporate white collar motherfucker at the top of the ladder that was stealing all that money, he's on vacation at an island somewhere. Meanwhile, there's a bunch of people out of jobs. We seeing that right now with Activision Blizzard, with them, people being paid, taking a buyout to quit and that kind of shit. To me, this is all culminated from corporate greed. They motherfuckers just didn't know when to stop with these damn microtransactions. And I think it finally caught up to them. People not buying that shit the way they used to, because when it comes to people like Activision and EA, I think it might have been Craig Harris who said that when you mention EA and Activision talking about buying one of their upcoming games, it was like, I'll think about it. Maybe we'll see, because in the back of their mind, they already wondering what kind of microtransactions is going to be in this shit. It's not that they're not interested in the game. They just apprehensive about it because they don't know what kind of microtransactions is going to be in the shit. Because now they being super slick with the games now, because they selling the games. They launch the games without the microtransactions and then put the microtransactions in after the game is already in everybody's hands. Arian Drake, hey Lincoln, with Bungie being independent, they will be making will they be making first party games? I think with Bungie being independent now, I think you're gonna have a situation like Insomniac. Where they are going to they could make exclusive games for a platform. They could make an exclusive game for Sony. They could make an exclusive game for Microsoft. But I think at the end of the day, they don't want to be owned by anybody anymore. If that's so to speak. Arian Drake, you thought maybe be bought by Sony at some point? I honestly think that I think Bungie would love to work with Sony, but I don't think they want to be bought by Sony. I think they would love to be in a position that Insomniac is in with Sony right now. Sony don't own Insomniac, but they got that, they're going to be making the next couple of Spider-Man games. So as of this moment, it looks like they're going to have work to do for the next couple of years. So, some of them paychecks is going to be secure for the next few years. Yeah, that's right there. Amiris, he said, Sony won't pressure them, and I think Forza Motorsport 7, you can look at that game and tell that Microsoft was looking over their shoulders every 3 seconds, telling them to take this out, telling them to take that out, because it was taking shortcuts in the game. Look no further than the pit stop situation in that game, where a car pulls into the pits and you don't hear a pit crew, but you hear all kinds of wrenches and impact guns going off and shit. On GT Sport, you actually see a pit crew holding tires, holding impact guns, holding gas tanks, waiting for the car to come in, and you actually see the animation of them changing tires and putting gas in the car. I don't see why Microsoft couldn't have done something that simple in Forza, but that was some kind of little funky ass shortcut. I don't know, what kind of money that supposedly saved them. But I think in the case of Bungie, I think that I think they would love to work with Sony. They'll get that AAA budget and they won't get somebody breathing down their neck every 3 seconds. And they get to remain independent the whole time. So I think, in those terms, I think Bungie is going to be in a good spot. Now, what happens with Destiny, I don't know. What happens with Destiny moving forward, being that they take Destiny with them. Are they going to leave Destiny the way it is, or are they going to, now that they own, have the publishing rights to that game and they basically own it, will they lift some of the microtransactions? Or will they add free content? So that's the big question. Destiny's already done. So I think a bigger question is the next project. I think the next project, they'll want to do a AAA project. And if they fund this project themselves, and if they publish this project themselves, will they go down the Activision route to get the money back? Will they turn into another monster? So that's the big question there. So that's where I stand. There's so many different angles that I thought about this whole situation, because it's got so many implications with Bungie being independent now. And that's got everybody wondering, will Blizzard try to get away from Activision next? So let's talk about what do I think this means for Activision. So yesterday, one of the big headlines was that Activision stock continues to plummet since the Bungie split. So as far as I'm concerned, half of their revenue is gone now that they don't own, now that they can't, they don't have the rest of Destiny anymore. Half of the revenue is gone. So I think they're still getting, naturally they're still getting money from Call of Duty. I think they're getting money, from Overwatch? Isn't Activision a publisher of Overwatch? Whatever money they're getting from that. But I had heard with Overwatch, I never played the game, but I had everybody that said something about microtransactions in Overwatch said that the microtransactions are cosmetic. So maybe as long as they keep it that way, Overwatch will continue to flourish, because I hear about that game so much, even though I haven't played it. So the game's got to be doing pretty good. Samuel, you said there's an article that Activision is being investigated for fraud. It doesn't matter. This is America. Big companies, nobody's going to go to jail. If they are convicted of fraud, the most is going to happen is the company itself will probably get a fine. No one's going to go to jail. No one's going to get probation. That's just the way America is. It's just big companies don't get fucked with like that. Now, you might go to jail if you get caught stealing a candy bar out of a store. If they catch my black ass stealing a candy bar out of a store, they might give me 3 years for it. But fraud, what's the other word that I want to use? But basically, somebody within the inside stealing money from the company, and the company ends up folding up because somebody was stealing money from the inside. Them people, they never go to jail. That's America for you. You got money, you can buy your way out of trouble. So, way back when OJ was first found innocent of murder and the country went berserk and shit like that, I was like, don't get mad, because this is the way the justice system works. This is y'all justice system. This is the way y'all designed it to work. Somebody with money had got off the hook. That's the way this country is built. You got money, you're gonna get off the hook. And so God knows shit, and speaking of somebody being in trouble, some guy, OJ's son did it. Some guy, whoever the head of the Borderlands project is, this guy, some shit came up on this guy. I guess he secretly paid himself a $12 million bonus that should have went to the employees. I guess he had a flash drive that had a bunch of information on it, as well as child porn. And so the thing that was disappointing about that shit was the quartering was the one who reported it. But yeah, Randy Pitchford, the thing that was fucked up about that was the quartering was the one who reported it. He was the first one that I seen had a video on it. And what was fucked up was that he said he's not going to jump to conclusion because we don't know if the porn that he had on the thumb drive, was legal or not. Somebody tell me what state child porn is legal in. And you talking about, see, I hate that fucking shit. I hate that fucking shit when when America does that shit, when certain people do shit and it's like, he's guilty, and they don't even know the whole story. But then other people get caught up in that same situation. It's like, oh, wait a minute, we have to find out exactly what happened. We don't know everything. Shut the fuck up with that shit. What goddamn state do we know where child porn is legal? And you talking about let's gather all the facts and then fuck that shit. That is the kind of shit that burns me up. And then the dude came out, and then not only was there supposedly child porn on this flash drive, that it was also rumored that he had parties where his executive friends were exposing themselves to minors that was at a party. And this is coming from a lawyer and I guess a former colleague of his that's suing him. And he's reporting all this shit saying we got to gather the facts and whoop-de-whoop and all this kind of shit. But, they wanted Soulja Boy executed. They wasted no breath in trying to have Soulja Boy locked up. But you got a dude this supposedly got child porn on a flash drive and having parties where grown men exposing themselves to minors. The dude is a fucking monster. And why is nobody calling for his head? Why is nobody blowing the fuck up and want this dude head on a stick? But they acted the fuck up over Soulja Boy trying to sell a little funky ass fake Xbox. Unbelievable. But that is America for you. So let me get away from that shit before I get really motherfucking mad. So let me get away from that shit. So, I got way off the tracks, this subject started out talking about, me wanting to, try to analyze where does Activision go from here now that, Bungie's not with them anymore. Bottom line is where I was trying to go with this is I think it's going to be another one of those situations where I talked about where 2019 is going to be the year where publishers are going to decide that they're going to have to decide who means more, the investors or the consumers that buy the product, because they've gotten so egregious with the microtransactions that people are not so quick to jump up and buy the game anymore. But at the same time, with shareholders seeing the stocks are plummeting, they're pulling out. It's not a good situation on either end. If you tell the stockholders don't go anywhere, we promise we're going to get more money for you, whoop-de-whoop, and then they keep on adding microtransactions like they've been doing with this silly dot shit, you're going to further piss the consumer off and your sales are going to dip that much more. It's only so much, it's only so much shit you can squeeze out of a tomato, it's only so much of that shit. But on the other hand, if they go down the right path and don't go crazy with these microtransactions and repair their reputation, they're going to end up having to lower projected goals. I think that's and that might continue to make shareholders pull out. Now, I don't know nothing about the stock market, but from what people have been saying, a lot of these stockholders don't know what the fuck. They don't know shit about gaming. All they know is they invested and they want more money. So the question is, with Call of Duty being the biggest franchise that Activision is in control of, where do they go from here with the Call of Duty franchise? Because now keep in mind, remember, a lot of people was upset that they did not put a campaign in Call of Duty. So when the next Call of Duty comes out, excuse me, which I think could be within the next couple of years, because it seems like they put out a Call of Duty every fucking year. So they're probably going to put out another form of Call of Duty within the next couple of years. The question is it going to have a campaign on it? If it doesn't have a campaign on it, in my opinion, I've said this before, and a lot of people have said it before too, and I don't think you can sell the game at $60, whatever the next iteration of Call of Duty is. If it doesn't have a campaign, you cannot sell it at $60, especially if you plan to bleed everybody to death with microtransactions in it. They escaped this time. And I think that if I think if EA had not opened their mouth about if you don't like it, don't buy it, I think Battlefield 5 pre-orders would have been comparable to the Call of Duty pre-orders. I think the numbers would have been comparable. But I'm wondering just how many people went off and bought Call of Duty just for the simple fact that Patrick Soderlund opened his mouth and pissed people off. I'm wondering how many people went off and bought Call of Duty because they was mad at him, that they probably intended to buy Battlefield 5 first, but got Call of Duty because he pissed them off. Excuse me again, everybody. Hold on a second. Okay, folks, sorry about that. It's getting a little warm in here, so I had to turn the fan on and get some air circulating in here so I don't die or melt and turn it into a puddle. And then we have a black ass puddle gate inside. Let's see here. I have just detected a change of pressure within the dome. That means we must have a visitor. Yes, we do. I was just informed by my guards that we have a visitor, and it is one Craig Harris. Welcome back to Wakanda, my friend.
No Rob. Very, very nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. So go ahead and shout yourself out, and we'll pick up right where I left off at.
Oh yeah, it's Craig Harris. I'm back.
The Messiah.
Yeah, the Messiah is back. Destiny has arrived.
Yes, sir. So let me see, where am I at? Actually, I'm not too, as far as my notes goes for the past week, I'm only on the second subject, to tell you the truth.
Oh, what was the first one?
About the PS4 selling 91.6 million, and the Spider-Man sells 9 million. If you want to give a quick thought on that real quick, how you feel about that, shout out to Sony. And I pretty much told everybody my thoughts on it was that I was actually a little bit disappointed because I thought Sony would be sitting on 92 or 93 million by now. But after going to VG charts and looking up, weekly sales, I wouldn't be surprised if as of the moment of this podcast, that they probably did break 92 million.
It'll probably be there by March. It's just again, congrats to them. They've done a real good job of what they got, and so just wow. I mean, I've always thought that I knew they were doing well, but I didn't know they were doing this well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but shout out to them, and I thought the initial reaction of like Sick Humor was saying earlier, how Sony is lying, and that's not true. Even though it's a for-profit company, they cannot. Sony is they're located in Japan. Mm-hmm. They have offices in the Americas, so they have to abide by the international law, then the U.S. law. So they're following the law, and it's unfortunate where a lot of them are. And like I said, I have an Xbox now. It's just in the form of and it's black, and it's just in the form of a PC. It's an Xbox. I mean, it has the I have a Ryzen CPU like the Xbox, according to Jabba Jabba the Hod. I got that, and so yeah, it's cool.
So just to give you a rough number, in North America at the week of December 15th, according to VG charts, the PlayStation sold 264,000 units in North America, and then just to skip over the rest of the regions, globally they ended up selling roughly like 749,000 units in 1 week globally, and they were sitting on 91.6 million. So they only needed another 400,000 units to break 92 million. So this has been news for almost a week. So if they haven't already broke the 92 million by now, they'll break it next week.
Yeah, I'd say probably. I'm sure sales slowed down after after the holidays, but yeah, it wouldn't shock me if like I said, early March you see them announce 92 to 92.5 million. Wouldn't shock me. It's what's up, Ice Queen? So nothing's really a surprise when it comes to that machine. They built I tell people they built the perfect device. So they built the perfect device. So and they've been rewarded for it. So,
so the next subject was about the founder of I think Activision Blizzard left the company for good. I guess he had stepped down from a CEO role and was more in an advisory role.
Right.
And he's leaving the company for good, April 7th.
Wow.
And so basically I was just saying that to me, that's just another black eye for Activision. And this is another situation where I think this coincides with my belief that I think 2019 is going to be the year that the publishers are going to decide. They're going to have to make a hard decision. Who means more, the investors or the customers? If the investors mean more, then they're going to turn up the microtransactions, try to appease investors. But if we mean more, then they're going to have to turn the microtransactions down to be more consumer friendly, and that could cause more investors to pull out. So it's not a good situation to be in. And I think with these people leaving Activision and people being asked to take buyouts from Activision Blizzard and amongst a bunch of other things that's going on, I think this all points to what I was saying about, they're going to have to make some tough decisions in 2019. And so,
well, they're always going to choose the investors. So I've always said to people, there are some games that, Activision and EA, EA to me lost its innocence in I guess right around when Grand Theft Auto, like Vice City and all that stuff was coming out for other consoles. EA really did care. They were going out of their way to really compete and everything. But now they're just giving you the same stuff. Madden, this year's Madden, it played different than last year's Madden, definitely. We both kind of experienced that. But was it really that much different? But yeah, they look at it and they see a game like Fortnite as the go-to game because it was free. It didn't really cost them a whole lot to make that game, and it's making $1 billion. So they're over there just printing money, and that's what they all want. They all want that higher share sheet, and so yeah, I think they're gonna. Me personally, I think they're gonna always choose that.
Yeah, but I think that maybe some of these publishers need to learn a lesson from Fortnite, that if you're gonna the formula was there in the mobile form, that a lot of these games are free to play, and then they kill people with the microtransactions once they get entrenched in the game. And that's exactly what Epic did with Fortnite. It was a free to play game, and now people are not upset about the microtransactions because the game was free. So and these microtransactions are not a must.
Yeah, and a lot of the people that they end up playing with other like kids and stuff, and a lot of those kids that have quote unquote everything, those are the children of the Epic people. Those kids are playing and showing off new stuff, and other people see it and they want it. And so, because I don't know what the big deal is, you get the drop on somebody, you hit the button and then they go down. It doesn't matter what kind of gun you got. But,
and to me, it seems like the biggest microtransactions that seem to be selling are these skins, these dances.
Yeah.
Dabs and Roger Rabbits and all kinds of stuff, all these dances from the past. People seem to be buying those microtransactions, but I can't really complain about that because the game is still free. Now, an analyst predicted that, I think he said that at some point, Black Ops 4 will become a free-to-play game.
It wouldn't shock me if they want to. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised if they really want to. If Black Ops 4 really wants to kill it, they would make it free to play. They would do cross play on it, and then they'd kill it. And they would kill it at that point. You know, even if I don't know if Black Ops is on Switch or not. I'm not for sure, but and I think it is on PC. But that's all they have to do. They just either go up and say, look, we're going to make it free to play, and we're going to have cross play with Xbox, PC, and PlayStation 4 family, and that's it. But it'll have a bunch of microtransactions. So I mean, you could create a Rambo character. You could create a whatever. They can start creating things. They can sign some deals with Hollywood. They can put some of the Avengers in there with the character skins and some of your favorite General Patton. I mean, they can do everything. Put Tom Cruise's Maverick character from Top Gun. Anybody's been in a military thing, I think if they did something like that, they'd be fine. You know, but that's asking the investors who are already mad to justify jumping in deeper. But they're all like you quoted yourself. They've made what, $500 million in a certain amount of days, and the investors were mad.
Yeah,
underperformed. Like, are you kidding me?
But I think if they would have sold that game for $30, they would have sold way more copies than it did.
Yeah, $39.99 is what I thought that game.
Yeah, with no campaign in it. They you know, I mean, Six said it best. A little funky ass, battle royale mode does not make up for them taking an entire campaign out of the game.
I agree, and I agree, and I agree that it should have been $39.99 or $49. Something like that. That's what I would have done, but the greed stopped them. And I'm sure they said, hey, look, if we sell it at $39, we'll make this. And so those people that ran around and told them $39, they're the ones who got their chest up higher and they're getting the promotions now. We should have sold it at $39. At $39.99, I would have probably bought it. I'm like, well, it's only $40. So I would have probably bought it at $40. But
when you got a trash ass game like State of Decay 2 selling for $30, if you sell a much more quality game like Black Ops 4 for $30, I just think that would have been a can't miss. They would have gotten that epic Fortnite type of money if they would have sold the game for for $30. But to me, that is just the American greed. They just don't get it. They try to take every fucking nickel in your pocket. If you got $1 in your pocket, they trying to take 75 cents out of it, right off the bat, and then they're gonna try to take the last quarter in your pocket in the form of pennies. No, they should have did it the other way. You should have took 25 cents out of my pocket first. And then, because I think I got a good deal, I won't have a problem giving you the other 75 cents off of microtransactions that are probably cosmetic.
Well, true. Good point. Yeah.
But
to me, all that, the Battle Royale stuff should all be free. And let me make a decision if I like it enough to invest another whatever into it. I will give Epic credit for that. The game is free. You don't have to, nobody's making you buy it. It's not taking it. I don't have Fortnite. I played it one time. I was jumping up and down on a trampoline. This is stupid. And I immediately uninstalled it. But yeah, I mean, those guys, they were looking for players. And, I think I can't remember if it's an esport game. It may be. So yeah, long live that game. I mean, I think that's fine because you do have a choice. You just play it at the base level and not spend a damn dime. You have to spend a dime. So I don't have an issue. Some DLC, I like cosmetic DLCs. Everybody knows that. Some of it can get out of control. People suing, and that's stupid.
So this next subject will get you caught up. And that's Bungie splitting with Activision, and I gave my thoughts on it. I thought, what does this mean for Bungie moving forward? With the next game, will they do everything out of pocket? Will they develop the game? Will they publish it? And then as far as Destiny, will they take Destiny with them? what happens to Destiny moving forward? You know, will they add DLC for free? Will they remove some of the microtransactions that Activision made them put into the game? As far as relationships with Microsoft, what does that mean for them? People, suggested that Microsoft should try to own them, and we already know they don't want to be owned again. Meaning they don't want to be owned, so we already know that. My belief is that I could very well see Bungie, doing a game-by-game basis, in a situation like Insomniac with Sony, where they make a game for Microsoft, but they're not owned by Microsoft. And I could see the same thing happening. I could even see them, making a game for Sony. I could see Bungie working on a game at the same time for both Microsoft and Sony at the same time. I think that's very well a possibility. But I think the underlying message here is it doesn't matter who they make a game for. They don't want to be owned. And my guess is chances are whatever they do make, they are going to want to own it. I have to be honest and say, I think Microsoft this go around might let them own whatever they develop for Microsoft, but I don't know if Sony is having that shit.
Yeah, let's have to wait and see. I think you're right. I don't see them being bought anytime soon. But they've had bad experience with Microsoft. They had possibly a bad one with Activision. So just go ahead and make your game. They said didn't they have an investor already? Because they wouldn't have done that. They sought outside help. I think Six Right, they just paid off whoever invested in them. Probably just paid off whatever mark they had to Activision, and now that's the new company. So to me, I would think they've already been bought out. So that's why I don't see Sony going back to buy them. Kind of like, no, you all just got bought, So, and what all Microsoft is doing is that they're finding B-level companies, and you can make if people want to say Ninja Theory is an A-level studio, fair enough. I'm not going to argue. But Ninja Theory, and they were on the ropes. They almost couldn't finish Hellblade because of money. They were able to get it out the door, but it almost didn't. It crippled their company. So
which further supports something that I said a while back when I said that Microsoft caught all these developers in a vulnerable position. They caught them in a position where they were damn near about to go, where they were about to close their doors, or they had a situation where they hadn't put out a game in God knows how long.
Yeah, and that's what that's true. And that's what companies do. That company that guy that ran for president, Mitt Romney, Bain Capital, that's what they used to do. Your company needed investment. They would invest in it, inflate your number. Then when the number got to a certain point, they pull their investment out. They would tank your company because it was on an artificial balloon. And that's what Microsoft's provided is, So, again, if Ninja Theory thought that was the place to go, then so be it. Microsoft they don't have as much competition at Microsoft as they would at Sony. But maybe they wanted Sony to buy them, and Sony said no. It could have been something like that. So.
Yeah, that's very well possible. But one thing's for certain, though, that all of these companies that were acquired by Microsoft will be strong-armed by Microsoft because they were in a position where even if they had to be rescued by Donald Trump, they needed to be rescued. So. So you best believe Microsoft is going to control them. I don't know if Microsoft is going to, create some slave-like conditions for them, but I know Microsoft is definitely going to be overseeing their projects, telling them, no, take this out. No, we don't need that. The way because they breathed over Turn 10 shoulders with Forza Motorsport 7. You can see some of the shortcuts that was taken in that game where Microsoft had to step in and tell them, no, we don't need this, we don't need that, or, take a shortcut here.
Well, yeah, Microsoft's main issue, people got to understand, is that they wanted to be able to say this is 4K. That's what they wanted. That was the selling point of their console. This is 4K. This allows you to play movies in 4K. This allows you to stream things in 4K. You have a GoPro camera, you put it on your USB, then you can put the video, right there to your Xbox and show it to people in 4K. So that's what they wanted. That's why there's a lot of them running around who think Xbox is the only company that does 4K. It's not true, but that's what they think. So it's just you just shrug your shoulders and like, all right, that's the way it is, I guess. The way they are. But as far as the investment thing, yeah, it's you companies have these games ready to go and they just don't have the money to make them. And yeah, sure, Microsoft jumped on there and said, yeah, you can make your game through us. And that's what they're doing. But it sounds like, according to Xbox P3, they're going to be putting games everywhere. And I've always said I support that vision.
Okay. So moving on to the next subject, which I think will be a pretty short subject. I don't really want to spend a lot of time talking about that. And that's about the CES 19 thoughts. A lot of people were disappointed that there was no, PS5 reveal there. And this thing about GT Sport being shown in 8K, is that correct?
They showed it in 4K on an 8K TV. So like all upscaling, it took the picture and it upscaled it to 8K. So the final picture was 8K.
Okay, so I guess the Xbox were hollering about that too. So to get my thoughts on that real quick, I don't know. I'll be honest. I was one of the people that I was not interested in watching this show. My only interest in watching this show is if they would give any PS5 information. I did not expect, like the way they made it sound, they were expecting like Sony was going to unveil everything there. Like they were going to show the console, give a price, give a release date. I never expected any of that. All I expected from them was they might like drop a little hint, maybe flash like a PS5 logo up on the screen or something like that, just to reassure everybody that it's coming. But that's all I expected. I never expected, a date, a picture of the console, any of that stuff. But I was wondering if they would drop any little bit tidbit of a hint. They didn't, so it is what it is, But at the end of the day, I still stick to my belief that they're going to do it on their own stage, on their own time. The other thing is, with the Xbox getting mad about the situation with the GT Sport being shown on the 8K TV. I don't know what they're upset about because they were doing a backflip, way back when Titanfall 2 came out, and with this dynamic scaling that dropped as low as 720p but went as high as 6K. So, and they were doing backflips over that. So, what was the issue with the GT Sport at the CES show?
No, it's they are never going to accept that PlayStation is beating them to the punch, and they only want to believe Microsoft has 4K. Like I just told this idiot Infurious one, he was going on about the Vega GPU, and I'm like, look, here's the Navi roadmap, and I gave that to him. And I said the Navi GPU, you can clearly see, is a step ahead of the Vega GPU. But again, a top-end Vega GPU can perform with the Navi. It's just the Navi, like shout out to J-Dub City, it's going to have better processors in it. So it will be able to do the same thing at a lower yield of power. That way to keep if it's the PS5. What came out of CES is exactly what the people who clickbait, who have clickbait channels, they're the ones who got embarrassed. They got embarrassed because they were the ones saying that we may see something, that AMD is there, Sony is there, but Sony's always there. Sony, I think, never had a console get announced at CES. So, and maybe years ago they did, but there was no reason to think that they were going to announce it. They showed their new GPU, which people had said a week before that AMD had planned on showing you the new GPU that we saw. And like I said, they blew NVIDIA out of the water. I don't know if anybody saw Intel NVIDIA's CES. That was trash. It was. Compared to what AMD did, basically giving you a card that is going to do the exact same thing as a 2080 at half the price. With just as good as performance. And it comes with a bundle of Resident Evil and Devil May Cry and The Division Part 2 that will come with the card. So you're gonna have a lot of people going. I mean, I want that card. It's only gonna, it's gonna be $700. Yeah, that's a lot of grippos.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what they're up against. Is they do not want even though Navi's architecture is said to be better, we won't know until we see a benchmark performance on the AMD site, their official site. Navi's GPU is ranked ahead of the Vega. So if it's true, and I shout out to Foxy Games and all that, shout out to Lou Wafa, and because they confirmed that Navi was co-developed by Sony. So we have to wait and see if that's true or not. And that's why I was saying that that's why I was saying that, I wish I could go there, because I would ask AMD, did Sony help co-develop Navi? But according to several people, they did. Okay, now it's a proprietary technology, meaning that once Digital Foundry tested, they say it has the Navi GPU and it's proprietary technology, and Sony is not going to give this sock out to anybody. You're going to have to use this on PS5. So they don't want to be outpowered, because again, they believe that the reason why the PlayStation outperformed the Xbox was overpowered. That's what they think. You're not going to talk them out of that building. Building's on fire. Oh no, the reason why Xbox did not perform well is because they had games at 720p. And I mean, that's what they're going to say. That's what they believe. They truly believe that. So,
And in my case, I don't know if Sony is trying to have the most powerful console. But my initial belief is that whatever amount of power that the PS5 comes with, it will come with that amount of power, not because they were trying to have the most powerful console, but because it will probably be the amount of power that's going to be needed to be able to run the next iteration of VR smoothly.
Yeah, and Navi will run the Vega that they showed. And so the Vega chip that they saw, the Xbox community runs around. They're now saying that that's going to be the same sock that they use in the new Xbox. It's like, that's not what they announced. So shut up. They didn't announce that.
Okay. The next subject. Now that you are the newest resident of the PSVR realm, it appears that there's going to be no free flight mode in the Ace Combat 7.
What is free flight mode? That's I'm trying to. Is this what you guys just get in there and fly around?
Yeah. I think, but I think
fine.
the free flight mode, I don't think it's going to be an online feature. I don't think it's going to be a feature where you're going to be flying around free flight and there's going to be other people in there with you. I think you're just going to be free flying by yourself. So if that be the case, I don't know why they needed to take that out. But it appears that, last I've known, that it's supposed to come with 3 VR missions and an air show mode where you're on the deck of a carrier watching an air show, as well as a hangar mode. Now, the air show mode probably sounds less than exciting to some people, but if they do this air show mode the way I've seen some of it, where these air show modes, some of these air shows, where they show some of these fighter planes, breaking the sound barrier, obviously they calculated just right where you hear the sonic boom right as the jet is flying over the deck of the carrier, or right as it's flying over the air show itself, where people are spectating. If they were to show something like that in the air show mode, where they show a fighter jet passing over the deck of the carrier, breaking the sound barrier, making that sonic boom right as it passes by, I think that feature would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. I ain't gonna lie, yeah, that would be nice.
And so with the 3 VR missions, that's a little bit disappointing, being that I originally heard that there was supposed to be 10. But anyway, with no free flight mode, what would be your thoughts on that, being that was one of the games that you were looking forward to?
Oh, I wasn't even sure what that was. Yeah, I just want to get in there, give me a mission, and I can go. I mean, if you can do the mission with other people, fine. I mean, even better. So that's cool. I don't know how VR. I don't know if it's going to have where everybody can use VR at the same time. I think that would be cool. You know, because like I said, the EVE Online shocked me when I was in that cockpit thing and I looked behind I turned my head and you could still see, different people trying to shoot at you and stuff. That I didn't think I was going to get that kind of immersion. So this is later technology. I think EVE Valkyrie was one of the first games launched. So looking for the improvements. I haven't played Ace Combat since the PS1. Mm-hmm. Back when the planes had those funny looking designs. They had funny looking designs on them. So.
And even with the I lost something here. I don't want Ace Combat 7 without freeze flight mode. He's not getting it anymore. That's uncompetitive. He's saying he doesn't want Ace Combat if it doesn't have the free flight mode. I mean, it still sounds like it's going to be a great game. VR was the main reason that I wanted the game, but I'm not going to let the shortage of VR material stop me from getting this game because it's still going to have an online mode. And I think it's still going to have a great campaign. So I think you're still going to be getting a lot of. I think you're still going to be getting a lot for your $60. I think I had heard that it's supposed to be like 30, 40, 50 hours of gameplay in this game. So it sounds like a game that's going to be well worth your money. So I'm still going to get it. And who's to say that if this game doesn't? Who's to say that if this game does well? Who's to say that they won't add more VR content down the line?
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. It may happen. They may add some more VR missions, and I mean, again, if you're getting and a lot of third-party AAA, whatever you want to call them, developers. I guess Capcom really jumped in with VR. I don't know about Bethesda, but Capcom has embraced VR, and there's only going to be certain companies that embrace it, and so because it's not even 40 months. It's not even 48 months old. So I've always said, look at it at maybe the 5-year mark and see where they're at. Is the VR experience getting better? The answer to that I can attest to is yes, because I played VR at Best Buy before it launched, and it was just basic stuff. It was nice, but I wasn't expecting anything on that level when I played the other day. Nothing. I expected nothing like that. Gave me an idea for a game that I want to pitch. And I want to try to sit down and maybe talk to J-Dub about it.
About
a game I'm thinking about pitching. It's based on a movie. So, and something that has to do with the VR.
You're thinking about pitching the game as in...
Yeah. Based on a movie that was fairly popular in the...
Okay, so, is this something where you would need J-Dub support or something, or...
Well, I just would like maybe his insight on... he's got industry insights. Just if he thinks it's a good idea, one, and because I definitely value his opinion on the gaming scene and business-wise. No reason not to. Mm-hmm. The man's out there buying Maseratis and Rolls Royces, so why not seek the opinion of a guy like that? He's not gonna lead me wrong. If he says it's garbage and a garbage idea, it won't hurt my feelings. He's like, hey, look, it's corny, get it out of here. Cool. But
it's cool that people like J-Dub, who's in his position, still is in touch with the gaming community the way he is. And I've said it before, and I have to reiterate this, that I am related to a famous person. I don't reveal who he is. I don't, that's basically, I already said that part as a he, so I already made a mistake there. But this famous person has an unbelievable amount of exotic cars, and this person barely knows what a video game is, given that kind of life. So that's where I'm going with that. For J-Dub to have that kind of life, was driving Lamborghinis and stuff like that, and still be very involved in the gaming community. I believe that's a person who loves video games, and I think it's pretty cool that we have a person like him in the community. Yeah,
he gives back, and I can attest to that. And that's how I got my Xbox One X. I know, so shout out to him for that. And he's done that for other people too. I believe he got Rand Out Thor a VR system about a year back. Just cool ass dude. Got Tim Dog, I think a Switch. Foxy Games, I think he got him a Switch too. So, and again, just shout out to him because he does give back, you know. And you know, you give back too. I mean, big shout out to you for doing what you've done, and the community in general for the donations for me. And now that PC is sitting here. Matter of fact, let me do this. Let me take the camera off. Let me show everybody what this thing looks like so that people don't think I'm job talking. People think you're using your old system, you know. So let me just, maybe people can see this cleanly or not.
Okay.
Let me pull back. There it is. You can, oh boy. I don't know if you can blow up my screen. But there's the cord. That thing's shaking. That's the headset cord. But that is the PC. All right, you all can see that white light. It's on. Let me see if I can kneel down here. That's still working where it says Asus. Hopefully everybody can see that. And you can see that it's red on the inside. It's on. So that's the PC that everybody pitched in to help me with. So I don't know if that's a very good picture of it or not, but I'll show it later on today on my podcast that I'll do later today. I am gonna. I don't know. Can you all see that now? Is that a pretty decent picture, Lincoln? What do you think? But
I was keeping my mouth shut until you're done showing it because every time I talk, my profile picture is gonna jump in.
Oh, okay.
Of this, so I was just keeping my mouth shut until you're done showing it to everybody.
Okay. There's the microphone. It's sitting on top of the computer. There's the case light that's on. Those are 2 USB ports there. I'm just pulling back here. That's the actual physical case it's sitting in. There's the Asus. That is the GPU. That red lighting is the motherboard. The CPU is underneath all that crazy stuff. So I just want to show everybody that's what I got. Here's the back of it. So, you know, that's a pretty crummy picture, but it is what it is. So I had to rearrange the my playing area because it was on the other side. I had to move the PlayStation VR out of the way and put it back in the box. And I moved the old computer out of the way. I'm going to get rid of it because I've got things set up. And just go from there. I've got a monitor to hook up because I'm running it through the 4K screen. And I'll probably hook up the monitor next week and start gaming on the monitor.
Okay. Yeah. You know, and real quick, and this is something that I forgot to mention about the PlayStation VR. I think I heard a couple of times you mentioned something about, you know, having to go through a lot of stuff about, you know, having to unhook it and hook it back up and those kind of things. Are you completely unhooking it, or is it a situation where when you're done with it, you take the whole thing, just pack the whole thing up and put it in the closet or something like that? Or
oh no, what I was doing was it just looked like a bird's nest back there because I understand my PlayStation is there. Of course, the TV is there. The 4K, my 4K Blu-ray player is all on the same side. And it doesn't look like a giant bird. And the computer was sitting over there. And so I had all those wires back over there. And finally, yesterday before I got up to go to work, I couldn't even sleep. I'm like, I got to clean this up. But when I came home from work yesterday, I spent about 45 minutes just moving the wiring around and getting it just looking presentable. Because I've always laughed at people who have this bird nest looking thing. And here I was, like, damn, I'm the pot calling the kettle black, you know, because of you know, I've got all kind of stuff. So I put the PC on the other side of my table, and it doesn't look half as messy. And once I disconnect the PC from the TV that I'm running the HDMI cord through, I'm gonna hook it up to the monitor. It will look a hell of a lot better. That's all I tell people.
Because I did want to inform you, as far as PlayStation VR goes, that one of the shortcuts you can do is, like, you have a PlayStation Pro, right?
Yeah, it does have a shortcut. I found it. I know what you're about to say about the HDMI cable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I figured that out the other day. So
Yeah, that's what I was doing. The cord that runs from the processor box to the TV.
Yeah.
I was leaving that there. So what I was doing was I was leaving that plugged up into HDMI 4. And then whenever I wanted to go back and play games in 4K HDR, I would unplug the cord that runs from the PlayStation to the processor box and then plug that back into the TV, usually in HDMI 1. And then when I'm ready to go back to the PlayStation VR, that same cord that runs from that's running from the PlayStation to the TV, plug that back into the processor box. So that's really the only cord you got to plug and unplug if you want to switch back and forth between your HDR and stuff like that. Because in the beginning, I was like moving all kinds of stuff around, till I caught on to that shortcut. But you figured it out. That's cool, because I didn't want it to become a situation where the VR was more trouble than it was worth.
Oh no! It wasn't. It was just a matter of me moving things around, and which again, when I hooked the VR up and stuff, I really didn't have time to really sit down and put things where I wanted them to. And yesterday I did it. I got off work. I was like, I'm off all day Sunday, so yeah, I was good. It was just a matter of moving things to where I needed them to be. So, because I pride that the living room is kind of my main entertainment room, and so I don't want people coming over and seeing it being messy. That's like I said last weekend, I got the carpets clean and everything. So I pride myself on that, on it being a good place to come and hang out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so moving on to the next subject, because I'm going to end up skipping a couple of these subjects. One of the next subject I was going to talk about was Phil Spencer reaching out to Bungie. I don't think we really need to go into that subject because we kind of already touched on that when we talked about how Microsoft, how we think that if Bungie hooks up with Microsoft again, it'll be a game by game basis. That they're not going to be owned by Microsoft. They might have a working relationship with them, but they're not going to be owned by them. So I think we can skip over that subject and go right over into the next subject, and that is Amazon is joining the cloud gaming fight. Now they're going to get involved in cloud gaming. So it looks like everybody and their mama wants to get involved in this, and now Amazon is the next one. So now we're going to have Google, Amazon, Microsoft, PlayStation, Utopia. I mean, so many streaming services out there. So what is your take on Amazon being the latest one to throw their hat in throw their name in the hat?
I understand that, and that could be issues streaming wise for PlayStation, because if the two, both Google owns YouTube, which PlayStation streams to, and Amazon owns Twitch, so those guys could come out and say, look, you have to have a Google device to stream to YouTube. They can do it. Not saying that they will, but they're capable of doing that. And then shoot fire. Which Call can do the same. Amazon can do the same with Twitch. Then
I don't know if I can see them doing that, because I think you're going to alienate and piss a lot of people off, because if they remove YouTube from the PlayStation and the Xbox and smart TVs and that kind of shit, I am not going to go out and buy a Google device just so I can get that stuff back.
Yeah, see, I think one of the things that Google or that Sony is working on is its own streaming service. I think that's really being lost in all this translation, that because they don't have their own dedicated service. Mm-hmm. So, and that's what I think they really, I know they got that live from PlayStation. I have no idea what the hell that is, but they need their own streaming service.
Yeah, because PlayStation was a pretty cool feature, but it was only amongst PlayStation people.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. They need to maybe expand that into just streaming online, But I don't know how that would work, because they could do it similar to what Twitch has set up. They could build something like that and just say, okay, you can still use Twitch, you can still use Google and YouTube, but then we also have this, and it offers some partnerships for PlayStation folk only. That would be cool. That would be cool as hell if Sony looked into that, So they're not cutting people off. They're not cutting people off. They would just let you stream directly to the PlayStation stuff. And then yes, you're gonna have to go through the whole damn sign up with your email and all that kind of stuff. So of course I don't know how that would work. I don't know if you, because in theory, Google could say, well, you can't use Gmail to do that. That would be Google's response, So, and it'd be like, oh, okay, well, then you may have to can't use Hotmail. I think Microsoft owns that. So maybe set something up with Yahoo. Yahoo's just kind of sitting there twiddling their thumbs. They're they've got search too. They, maybe offer them something in return. Maybe people kept talking about the whole Apple thing. Maybe this is part of what they're looking to do. Maybe Sony says, give us access to your cloud so we can stream. We just don't know. We don't know.
Yeah. You know what thought I had come over me was I feel like now with everybody and their mother trying to jump into gaming, whether it's cloud gaming or whether somebody wants to create some kind of council or whatever, I'm starting to feel like the gaming community is that girl on the block that you heard give good head. And, word about her been getting around. So now everybody lining up at her house and somebody different banging on her door every day, so they can get ahead. And I'm starting to feel like that's us, everybody and their mother hearing about the gaming community, that there's money to be made and everybody wants to jump in and get a piece of it.
Yeah. Yeah. People are always looking for the next big boom, so, we had the search engine boom. I highly recommend all you young cats watch that show on, I think it's on National Geographic. I think it's called something Wars, Search Wars, or something. I think it's starting. It may start today. But it's got Bradley Ridley, right? One of those Bradley guys in it, and it's about the early search engines. So Yahoo had a search engine, Alta Vista, Netscape, America Online. Those are all search engines. So, and you all should check that out. Ask Jeeves. All that was search engines, and there's a movie or TV show about that coming on.
Okay.
So yeah, check that out. But my point is for Sony to right now, Microsoft has a dedicated streaming service, Mixer.
Mm-hmm.
So because Microsoft and Google are competitors, there's a reason why Google does not want Microsoft streaming games directly onto its platform and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
That's what cracks me up when the same people who go moist. They will say, well, Google's not a threat to Microsoft. Really? Then why isn't Microsoft allowed to stream on Google's platform? Okay, it's because that's a competitor. So yes, when your competitor is getting into something that you do, it's a threat.
Mm-hmm.
But of course they don't see it like that because they're moist. So, but at the end of the day, I'm this guy, and shout out to Max Gaming, it ain't his fault. Somebody who calls himself literally Xbox Anaconda, now he's upset that if the PlayStation has a Navi, and I said if it has a Navi, that will be the better performing GPU over the Vega. And look, I prefer the Vega system. Mm-hmm. Okay, your PlayStation Pro, if you have one, has Vega in it. So, but we'll have to wait and see. It's not that big a deal. But yeah, my getting back to my point, Sony needs to have a proprietary streaming service. So hopefully, because they've been able to get away with it to the tune of 91 million consoles. So hopefully one of the things they can say if and when they announce PS5 is that you can still stream to Twitch, you can still stream to YouTube, or you can stream to the Sony streaming service, and you can do that too. Hopefully
that would be an interesting scenario because I think they can still help each other and they can still profit from each other. But if one of them gets to talking sideways, then the other one might be saying, you know what, fuck it, we don't need you. We'll start our own shit, Yeah,
and it doesn't have to be game videos. You can, because Sony owns a music company. I mean to cut you off. Since Sony owns a music company, you could put, if you're an up and coming artist, you can select this button under music, and then your streaming data will go to, our A&R departments. Maybe you get signed. We're going to offer the gamers partnerships similar to what Twitch has and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be, maybe not that aggressive, but I'm sure somebody has pitched this shit to Sony. So, but if not, maybe I need to get a sit down with Yoshida. Yoshida.
What things you want to talk about? Can I go with with the PS5 coming up, you'll have suggestions you want to add to PS5.
Yeah. Give me 30 seconds. And I would tell them the same thing. I would say Amazon is possibly getting into the gaming business streaming. They've got their own dedicated streaming service. Microsoft is going to stream. They have their own dedicated streaming. They've got Mixer. And now Google is going to stream, and they've got a dedicated streaming service. You all don't have one, so maybe you all need to look into getting one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're interested in that, let me know. My name is Craig Harris, and I'd walk off.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Amazon? Who Amazon? We're not worried about Amazon.
Yeah, except you're using their service streaming. And again, I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying that the people would leave Twitch, and that'll be the thing. Or people going to leave Twitch. I mean, that'll be the next thing. Well, you never know. If you offer partnerships, you incentivize it, of course people will try it out. Hey, hell, people made fun of Twitch when it started. People mocked it. Oh, this is stupid. YouTube is so much better. You know, and now a lot of people have quit YouTube and they stream on Twitch. And, you know,
real quick before we move on to the next subject, because I'll be ready to wrap this up here pretty soon, because I've already been on about an hour and a half, so only got a couple of more subjects to cover real quick. Mr. Pio, it says, do you think the next Xbox will have VR? If yes, will it be like Xbox, just multiplats? I do not know, because you know, if the Xbox does have Xbox VR, the next generation, is something that I would be interested in. But if it's going to be multiplats, I don't see myself buying it just for multiplats, because we'll have the situation all over again like we do with the consoles. Why would I buy, you know, another VR system to play multiplats when those same multiplats are likely to be on the next iteration of the PlayStation VR? Since they're going to be doubling down on, you know, VR experiences. To me, I translate that as they're probably going to be putting out a few AAA experiences of their own, and they're probably going to get a few of these third-party publishers to get on board, because it's already slowly starting to happen right now, because now some of these third-party publishers are starting to see that there's money in VR. So I think it's even going to grow next generation. So I don't see any point in buying a Microsoft VR in order to play a Battlefield in VR, when I can still have that same option on a PlayStation VR. So if Microsoft is going to get involved in VR, I think they're going to need to have some compelling exclusives for me to get on board with it. But it is something that catches my eye. If they do get in VR, it is something that I will keep an eye out for.
Yeah, and for me, they were supposed to have first-party VR on their X, and they didn't do it. So because of lack of sales, they did not do any more R&D into it. So there was no reason to start developing VR games when Hellfire, the X, has been out, a year, and they already announced another. It wasn't out a year. They already announced a replacement console. So hopefully they do support VR, and all they have to do is make it open to Oculus. That way, people who already have Oculus, they can just plug it in right into an Xbox, which I don't know why you would, because you're probably on PC, but at least make that available. And maybe that drops the price of Oculus. Oculus's price has to be cheaper than PSVR.
You know, what's the cost now?
I think Oculus is down to $399. I think Vive or whatever it is.
Because the PlayStation VR, its stock price, its base price, is $350 if you get a bundle with the Move controllers. A bundle without the Move controllers is $300. But when they go on sale, they're usually about $100 off.
Yeah, I think Oculus is a Oculus Rift. I can pull it up, man.
I know the Oculus Go. I believe the Oculus Go is $200. But the thing about that is, I don't think you play games with it. I think all it does is, like, the environment, everything that you look at is in 3D or some shit like that.
It's $349. Oculus is $349. And
okay.
Amazon US consumer tag.
But but if it's something where you can't play games on it, I'm not going to pay $350 for a peripheral where I'm sitting in my living room or I'm sitting outside in the parking lot and everything that I'm looking at is in VR, you know. So if I go outside, I'm in real life VR. So why do I need to put a headset on for it?
Well, Oculus has Valkyrie on it. It's got Echo Combat, Lonely Echo, Feral Rights. Yeah, they got Super Lucky Sales is on Oculus.
What?
So, yeah, I'm just looking at it here. You know, so But again,
I shouldn't be laughing at that because that's because Astrobot is a platformer too. So and Astrobot is VR's. People are calling that the Mario of VR. So I guess I can't knock Super Lucky's Tale for being in VR.
Yeah, and then that game is going to do sensationally well on the Switch. I mean, I just call it down. That may be one of Switch's biggest games next year.
I think they're going to support it much more than they did on the Xbox.
Yeah.
Next subject is not it's more or less just bringing people up to date. There's a game by Ubisoft, a VR game called Space Junkies, coming to PlayStation VR, and it is a first-person shooter game, but it's in space. You're floating around, around in and out of a space station, and this is 2v2. It looks like it's got a combination of Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, where you're jumping around in these suits. It's not exactly jumping around in the suits. You're in space suits and using jetpacks to move around, but it's a first-person shooter. So you're in a space suit with a jetpacks. Excuse me. And like I said, you move around. You're moving about this place in and out of a space station. Now, that's not a big deal. But the reason why I brought that up is to further make my point that third-party developers are slowly getting on board with VR because Ubisoft has a couple of VR games. They also have Star Trek Bridge Crew, which is on VR, and it's also a cross-play game where you can play with people on Oculus and Vive. And they also have a game called Eagle Flight.
Yeah, the Star Trek one, I may try that because I like Star Trek. I'm not a Trekkie, but I do like the 3 new Star Treks that came out. Those were all enjoyable. I didn't like Into Darkness that much, but the other 2 I thought were really good.
For Star Trek Bridge Crew, I don't think you don't need move controllers for this game, but it would be much more immersive if you did have the move controllers. You don't need them, but it would help if you did.
Yeah, and I plan on getting those. Yeah,
I'm crazy about Star Trek Bridge Crew that it's a small little detail, but I think it's so cool.
Yeah, I plan on getting the move controllers. I just have to go on sale.
You create a character before you start the game, and when you create the character before the game starts, you're kind of in a briefing room. With the people you're going to be playing with, because it's a 4-person play. It's a 4-person game, and everybody character that they create. So a guy look at you and he's talking to you. You can see his mouth moving. From the character that he created. You can see his mouth talking. So it's like that person is really there talking to you. And then with the move controllers is your hands. So people waving their hands all over the place, pointing at stuff. And the way the game works is you're going on missions. Whoever is the captain, he receives the information of where you got to go, what your mission is going to be, and then he relays the orders to the crew. And then as far as the crew goes, you have tactical and you have an engineer. And every one of those have I was always the engineer, so I controlled the shields. I controlled the power to the ship. So I distributed power to the phasers, to the shields, to the engines, wherever the captain wanted it. He'll say, give me, 40% power to the engines, give me, 20% power to the shields, that kind of stuff. So, and then, you have tactical, you have them, controlling the shields, the phasers, the photon torpedoes. And then you have the helmsman, the guy that steers the ship, he's going to take you where you got to go, that kind of stuff. And then when you get to a certain spot, then you have to transport people from the surface onto the ship. That is not designated to a specific person. It's probably whoever the captain designates it to. But it's a pretty cool game. So I could spend all day talking about that game, but it's pretty cool. But
I plan on getting that. Yeah.
And there is another game coming out called Box VR. I guess the way Polish Paul described this game, it is almost like a boxing type of Beat Saber game where things are objects are coming at you and you got to punch them as they're coming at you. And I think the purpose of this game is, you know, so you can get a good workout. So it might be something that I'm interested in because I'm definitely interested in games that's going to burn some calories. You know, that's why I play so much Beat Saber and Creed to get workouts. So, but the biggest reason to point that out is that I think that this Space Junkie games by Ubisoft is proof that, you know, more and more third-party developers are slowly getting on board with VR. I think they're starting to see that there's a market for it. Have they, you know, really made AAA games for it yet? No, but that, you know, we're still moving slowly in that direction. So I wanted to get your thoughts on about third-party developers slowly getting on board with VR.
That was expected. There were benchmarks. It's the same with the Switch. Remember, they were real slow to get to the Switch too. And again, the Switch had to have some benchmarks before those developers dedicated resources to port things and, you know, build technology for it to play. So again, that was expected. But I think as VR, I don't know what it did over the holidays. I thought it did pretty good as far as the sales for Sony. I think overall, I believe overall they just need to go ahead and probably when they got to 3 million, they're able to take that. The reason why they're telling people the numbers is for investors. You know, now if you were on the fence, like, well, I don't know if I'm going to get in. It's like, dude, we got 91 million units. So, you know, what are you waiting on at this point? Now you can pitch that differently to a potential investor. You know, and the same, you know, that's just the way it is. A new business. And let's just say you have a great business plan, but you don't have a lot of experience in what you're doing. And I say, look, I think you got a great business plan, but you don't have a lot of experience in this business. So I'm going to wait for at least 24 months to see what your business does. And if it's doing well, I will try to get a meeting with you then. And that's all these companies are doing. I don't blame them for jumping in. Look at what happened. It has been well chronicled with the Kinect. That was VR. That was a type of virtual reality system they were trying to implement, and it failed. You know, it blew up, and not the good way. Back in my day, Gen X was being linked would say, "Man, it's going to blow up." You know, like it's going to be a good thing. Where you all say blow up, blow up, like it fell apart. Shit went left. I think that's what you said. So I think that's what Gen X and the rest of these kids say. So it went left. So. So think of all I think Microsoft had to announce the amount of money they lost on Kinect. It wasn't like it was $5.
You know what? Before we move on to the next subject, and I didn't mean to cut you off, I wanted to also inform you of a couple of more things you can do with that VR unit. YouTube on the PlayStation has a VR mode. So you can, when you go to YouTube on your PlayStation, you can switch to the VR version of YouTube, and you can watch 360-degree videos on YouTube through your PlayStation VR unit. And there is a trillion videos out there this in 360 degrees. And I think one of the videos that I really love watching on YouTube is like sitting in the fighter jet when it takes off from a carrier, seeing that in VR when you're wearing your VR headset, and seeing that in VR on YouTube is pretty cool. I've also seen, the tip of a rocket that was about to launch in the VR. I was taken to the top of the gantry and looked down, and that thing was so high. Like, I was like, damn, I couldn't imagine falling off of this shit. It's just so much material on YouTube that's in VR that you can watch through the headset. And I think also there's an app for the VR called Next VR. And through that app, you can buy like an NBA package where you can watch NBA games in VR through your PSVR headset.
Oh, yeah. And movies. I think, shout out to, who was saying that? Andrew Wilkins was saying you can put VR on and watch some movies in VR.
Yeah, I know I told you that before, too, that I rent movies all the time because I had watched Doctor Strange in 3D.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was like having, when you put a headset on and watch a movie, it's like an 80-foot screen in front of you. So it's like actually being at the movies and watching a 3D movie with 3D glasses on. So the movie's not in 360 degrees, but it is in 3D where things are coming out of the screen at you. So that's still a pretty neat feature too. A low-key feature that a lot of people don't know about the PlayStation VR, that they did that with the PS3, where they sent an update through it that also turned the PS3 into a 3D player. That's one of the features that a lot of people don't know about with Sony. So moving on to, I think I have one or two more subjects. One more real subject to talk about. And that is that Soldier Boy is back. He is selling a handheld, and it looks like a PlayStation Vita knockoff. And so the reason why I thought that would be news is because I want to see how many YouTubers, I want to see if the review text, the Spawn Waves, the Dreamcast guys, the RGTs, and everybody else that was calling for his head again, will they make as much noise this time? We're like, this guy's got to be stopped. He needs to be locked up. I wonder if they're going to make all that kind of noise make that kind of noise again.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see. They did catch some backlash. Let's hope they stay out of it. You figured Soldier Boy was going to come back, and he's got the money he can hire $3 million law firm and get him out of trouble. So I don't see what the big deal is. I don't care. I don't even know what a ROM is. Who cares about a ROM? So I know So but yeah, we'll have to wait and see what they say, because I know they didn't like the fact they got a lot of pushback. Because I mean, Review Tech and all those cats, they got like corporate sponsors. So if you really want to hurt them, you just call their corporate sponsors. We're going to start boycotting your products.
Yeah.
It's all. If you really want to hurt Richard Review Tech, instead of going back and forth and calling him names, I mean, he has corporate sponsors. He has to declare them, find out who they are, and just say, look, we're going to boycott, and send an email to their corporate sponsor and say, look, we're going to boycott your products because of what he's saying. And then he'll get an email. He'll get a quick email to cease and desist, pretty much, on what he's talking about.
Okay.
So.
All right. So as far as topic goes, that pretty much wraps it up. I just want to give people a couple of bits of information before I close shop. And one of them was about the gaming PC, because I am, truth be told, I talked about buying a gaming PC. I really don't need one. But another PC is one of the reasons why I bought this Yeti Blue microphone that I spent $100 for. But I am going to follow through and get a gaming PC. I don't want to come out of the pocket. I think I'm just going to go ahead and buy one from Best Buy, one that's pre-built, because I don't want to go through the hassle of building one myself. But I will make sure to check the stats. I'm not just going to jump up and buy any old computer. I will check the specs. And whatever I buy, it's got to be VR capable. And so I'm going to.
That's your motherboard. Yeah, you got to look at the motherboard to see if it supports VR.
Mm-hmm.
And then the GPU needs to be, because mine, I believe, does support VR. I think it supports Oculus, but I would have to double check. You can actually go to the websites and double check that. And it's a pain in the ass, but the more I think about it, I didn't mean to interrupt you. When I was really PC gaming back in the day, that's what I was doing. I mean, we had magazines back then. You had to go to the library. I know you all don't go to that. I'm talking about the people in the chat. We had to go to the library and try to find computer magazines and then read up on everything. And but yeah, it's cool. Yeah, you can get a good one. This depends on what you want to play at, and if I can help in any way, let me know. I do a ton of research on this to find out what's going to be the better build for me.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to play, and so I'm golden with what I want to play. I just do not have the hardware that I need. It looks like I'm going to need a joystick and an Xbox gaming pad that can hook up to the PC. Because people are like, you can download something for the PlayStation and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I do not want to have to do all this stuff. I just want this thing to work.
Yeah. And that was one of the reasons I don't want to deal with building a computer myself. See, if I build a computer myself, basically, I would probably go to somebody's YouTube video and build it with the exact parts that they use. I wouldn't try to substitute this for that, because I don't want a compatibility issue. I don't want, this computer's not running right and shit like that. And since I'm not an engineer, that kind of shit, I don't want to have to spend 18 years trying to figure out why this computer isn't running right. I mean, because the last computer that I built, the thing was crashing on me, and this was going on for about 6 months. Finally, I had enough of it, and I just bought another computer. It was only like 4 months ago that I finally cracked the thing open and decided to take a look inside of it and try to figure out why the computer kept crashing on me. It was crashing on me because it was overheating. And the reason it was overheating is because the one of the fans was not working. And so it was getting I think the fan that attaches to the processor had stopped working. Well, it didn't stop working. It was turning real slow. So what I did to combat that was every time I wanted to use the computer, I would just take the side panel off, and I would give the fan a spin so it could take off on its own. And then I would put a house fan on the side of it to blow cool air into it, and then that worked. And then the computer hasn't quit on me since.
Oh, wow.
But my point is that it took me forever to figure that out, because being that I'm not a computer whiz like that, I'm like, God, I don't even know where to start, because I would be in the middle of burning a movie or burning a game or what have you, and then I would get a blue screen, and then the thing would just quit, and then it would reboot. So I was getting this blue crash dump screen, and then the computer would reboot, and I was like talking to a trillion people trying to figure out what might be wrong with it. And then, finally I just decided to go ahead and crack it open, because by then I already had a new computer. So by then I figured I got nothing to lose. You can go ahead and crack it open. If you fuck it up, so what? You already got the new computer.
Yeah. You got to keep, there's definitely stuff that guy showed me that I was going to have to do to keep it clean and keep different things updated. And I have to pay, I did a straight bill. That way I can just go to two websites. I can just go to the motherboard website, and then I can go to the AMD website. So, because I'm just going to put AMD components in to the computer. I'm not going to put Intel and NVIDIA, because I can get the same performance, pretty much the same performance out of an AMD build. Now, the AMD build runs hotter. It does run hotter, but that's just the nature of the beast.
Hey, Alabama Jones, yeah, that's funny, man. That's what exactly I had to do. The old PC was overheating, and when I found out the fan was about to die, on the processor, again, I would like give it a little spin so it could take off, and because what it was is the fan wouldn't start up on its own. I had to give it a little push to get it going. And so then the fan would finally run, but just to guarantee that the computer wouldn't overheat, I took a house fan and put it on the side of the fan so it will blow cool air inside the computer, and that fixed the problem. The computer ran like gold. But the last announcement I want to make before I shut it down is I did tweet it out yesterday that I'm going to start reaching out to developers and start asking for review codes to VR games, because you know how much I love VR. And there's a lot of games that I'm interested in. And not only that, there's, during these podcasts, people ask me from time to time, have you tried this game? Have you tried that game? And I would love to try them all. But I don't want to, start dropping a ton of money to try every single one of these games. And I'm not the type of, I don't want to throw a PayPal up there and, start asking for money and that kind of thing. So I think going this route, it will allow me to test VR games. People can say, hey, have you tried this game? Have you tried that game? And then I can tell them, hey, if the developer sends me a code, then I can try it, versus asking everybody for money and that kind of stuff. So, so I just want to be able to experience a lot of different VR games and, not have to spend a shit ton of money to do it. But I will have to forewarn everybody that it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that once, if I'm in a situation where these developers are giving me codes for games, that I'll have to be professional with my review of these games. I can't just jump up and say, oh, this game is garbage, this game is trash, and, shit like that. Take PSVR Frank, for instance. Out of all the games that he's, reviewed, I've only heard the word trash come out of his mouth like maybe twice. Even games, you could see it that even games that he thought was trash, he didn't call them trash. He was like, it's not my cup of tea, and that's probably the approach that I'm going to have to take for games that I may not like. I'll probably just have to say, it's not for me, but maybe you'll like it, that kind of stuff. So,
that's all you can do. Yeah.
So I will have to take a professional approach when it comes to that. So just be warned. So, but I'm going to start contacting some developers probably tomorrow. Because I've been going through the PlayStation store and looking at games that I don't have that I'm kind of curious about, but I don't want to spend, $30-$40 for a game that I'm not sure about. So I'll contact the developer and ask for developer codes, review codes. And shout out to Grumpy Aging Gamer. He's a, VR YouTuber. He has about 1,100 subscribers. He's a sub to my channel. I'm a sub to him. He's commented on a couple of my games, on a couple of my streams before. And he's the one that I talked to. I reached out to him, and he's the one that told me what I need to do to get in touch with these developers and start asking for codes. So shout out to Grumpy Aging Gamer. I appreciate it. So with that being said, you got anything you want to add, Mr. Harris?
No, I'm good. I agree. And it was a good podcast. Good podcast. I appreciate it.
Oh, without a doubt. And I think, and I was telling everybody that I'm going to continue, even when Sick comes back, I'm going to continue doing the Live from Wakanda podcast. I'm just going to do it when his podcast is done, because I don't want to bump heads with his podcast. So, so I did wake up this morning with the intentions of having this podcast at 10 o'clock. But then when I woke up and it said, Sick Humor sent the link, and I'm like, oh shit, Sick must be on. So, so I went to YouTube, and sure enough, he was streaming. So I said, all right, let me jump in here, hook up with Sick, and then I'll do this podcast after his is done. So that's the plan moving forward. I think this Live from Wakanda has been well received, so I'm going to continue on with this podcast. It's just that I'm just going to make sure I don't bump heads with Sick. If he goes on, he goes first, and then I'll follow up.
Oh yeah, that sounds like a plan. If I'm off on Sundays, I'll definitely be trying to jump on both. Sick's podcast was a surprise. So so yeah, but yeah, just let me know, brother.
Yeah, it surprised me too. I mean, I did believe that Sick would be back sooner or later, but I thought he would, give us a heads up that he was coming back. But I just woke up and saw that link, and then whoa! So it's good to have him back. Shout out to Sick Humor. Glad he came back.
Yep.
And then the best part about it is, like, I think I missed about an hour of the podcast, so I will watch that at work, so I'll have content to listen to.
Yeah, there you go. All right then, brother. I will talk to you later. And a shout out to the chat. And thanks for coming out and hanging out with us.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it. This podcast went on for about 2 hours. You guys stuck around. My apologies for being extremely limited in responding to comments, because we were trying to fly through these topics, and some of them I spent too long on these topics, longer than I wanted to. But, again, my apologies, for the limited amount of responses to the comments. I'll work on that, what have you. But to my guest, Craig Harris, I definitely want to thank you for coming by. You made this podcast a great podcast, and so is chat. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, shout out to you in the chat, man. And yeah, just keep it gaming. That's cool.
Without a doubt. And with that being said, I do plan on doing some streaming here today.
Yeah.
Also, want to remind everybody that that I've been invited to join JTech at 3:00 today. So I plan on being on his podcast at 3:00 today. So definitely check that out. No, and I think I'll be there. I think Big Money will be there. I don't know who else from the roundtable will be there, but definitely check that out. And so with that being said, I plan on doing some streaming today. I might even stream on the Xbox, with Mixer and stuff like that, because I told my son I would play Gears of War with him. So we might stream that. And with that being said, if you want to go ahead and shout yourself out, Mr. Harris.
Yeah, shout out to everybody here. And I'm a Situated Spoon 26 on Xbox. And if anybody wants to hit me up on that, and I'm attempting right now to figure out how to my Xbox is no longer here. I need to figure out how to get my cloud, my games that were in their cloud to my PC. Everybody keeps saying it's easy, but every time I look up, it's you have to have your Xbox in the room. But shout out to everybody that was here. Appreciate it. And yeah, I'm gonna try to stream a little bit later here myself. Look for me about 8 o'clock. And if I may be streaming, I'll be game streaming then. So
that'd be perfect. I'm definitely gonna do some streaming myself, and then I will be in contact with you through Twitter, so we can exchange Xbox gamer tags, so we can hook up on Xbox as well.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, once I get that up and running, yeah, no problem. Yeah.
All right. With that being said, I want to thank everybody for coming by. And as far as Craig goes, my guards will escort you back to your shuttle.
All right.
Have a safe flight home. And if for everybody else that came by, you know the drill. Hit the like button, lock the door on your way out. My guards will give every one of you a care package on your way out. And thanks for visiting Wakanda, and we will catch you all later.
All right. Take it easy, guys. Peace.
Later.